Do you want to create, multiply, and manage your wealth like multimillionaires and billionaires? In 2025, you can set up your own family office legacy wealth strategy in 45 days. Producers Wealth has open enrollment for their family office workshop, the Family Polaris. In the 6-week family office workshop, you will set up the 5 family office structure pillars. MC Lobsher and his team at Producers Wealth will walk you through setting up legacy assets like your family statement of purpose and your family constitution, legal, tax, and insurance structures to contractually multiply the family's wealth with every generation, your own family bank to finance everything your family needs, asset management strategies of billionaires and endowments, and how to establish your very own family mastermind. In 45 days, you will have your own family office structure in place if you join this program. The workshop includes curriculum, which consists out of video lessons, weekly live coaching Zoom calls, and community. You can be part of a community of like-minded families that want to live and leave a legacy for their families. You can apply to join the program at yourownfamilyoffice.ai. That's yourownfamilyoffice.ai. The world is going through changes. Changes happening at a speed that we have never seen before. This is leading to disruption, chaos, panic, fear, hysteria, and a turbulent economy and marketplace. How do you protect your wealth in a turbulent world? How do you invest for cash flow in alternative assets to escape the rat race in times of uncertainty? How do you decentralize yourself, your family, your community, your business, and your investments to become sovereign and escape the matrix? If you are looking for strategies, tactics, and techniques to escape the rat race and matrix, you are in the right place. My name is MC Lobsher, and this is Cashflow Ninja. This is Cashflow Ninja. I'm MC Lobsher. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode and spending your most valuable resource, your time, once again with me on the show. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts, 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the best newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. I've got a fantastic show for you today. I'm joined by Terry Kerr and Liz Nowlin with Mid-South Home Buyers. They're going to talk about single-family residential turnkey real estate. Terry and Liz have been guests on the show before. They always provide a ton of value. They've shared so much about this specific asset class and niche. To listen to their past episodes, you could go to cashflowninja.com and just put in Mid-South Home Buyers or Terry Kerr or Liz Nowlin. Terry and Liz, great to see you guys.
Good to see you too, MC.
Glad to be here.
Yes. For my new listeners and viewers, there's some fantastic content with Mid-South Home Buyers that Liz and Terry has done already at Cashflow Ninja. It's been a couple of years since I've had them on the show, so now's a great time for them to come back on. But Liz and Terry, just for all of our new listeners and viewers that's not familiar with you and what you do, could you please share a little bit about your journey and background and what you get up to?
Sure. So yeah, Mid-South Home Buyers was founded about 24 years ago when I fell in love with turning ugly houses pretty and sold a house to one of my high school buddies who I was surprised he bought a house from me, but he said even though he had 10 houses, he wanted to buy from me because he didn't have time to buy them and fix them up himself. So that is when passing bargains on to bargain hunters, that business kind of came into play.
Absolutely. Great. And now 25 years later, and Liz, when did you join because you were
I
there also earlier in the company, right? In
long
the
time ago.
origin story of Mid South Home Buyers.
It's a fun one. I've been in property management since I was 19. I'm 44 now. I started working for Terry 16 years ago. I had been in property management in St. Louis for about 10 years. Came to Memphis for what I thought was the temporary time, took what I thought was a temporary job with Terry 16 years ago. I've been investing with the company myself for years and developing my own portfolio, and had the great joy of starting with this company when we were 5 employees managing 83 houses. We are now about 120 W-2 employees, taking care of about 5,000 houses across 2 markets, with well over 1,000 investors that I've had the pleasure and honor of working with over these last couple years. And it's been really fun to see the growth and fix the growth problems.
So 25 years. So you guys are not a fly by night in the single family turnkey rental space.
No, we've been around for a while. We're the oldest one that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
It's
and it's kind
incredible.
of cool.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
It's so unusual to talk with any turnkey company that was around before the bubble, through the crash. We and our investors did really, really well through what no one knew at the time was one of the biggest real estate bubbles in American history, and then the bloodiest crash that anyone has ever seen. And cash flow stayed positive, everything worked out. But we have a lot of history and extremes of markets to speak to, and where Memphis and kind of us too has shown some resilience.
Awesome. About 5,000 units now under management. So you guys are kicking butt in 2 markets, which we will get into. So congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Let's dive into like turnkey single family properties. And what is it for people that this is the first time they've heard this concept? What is a single family turnkey property? And also, maybe the second part of that question is, what is it not? Because that might be helpful too.
Yeah. Turnkey means that you, the investor, are reaping all of the benefits that are extremely unique to real estate, from tax benefits, appreciation, multiple streams of appreciation in a way that is more similar to investing in the stock market, where you're going to handle the transfer of funds, you're going to reap the benefits, but there are absolutely no calls about a toilet, a renter, a problem. And very much so, you can, just the way you can invest in stocks of companies that are very far away, people are able to realize the benefits of our market while living in their chosen markets, often very high cost of living. That's the 50,000 foot view. The zoom in is, we're buying the house, we're renovating the house, we're putting a highly qualified renter in the house. We're then managing that property after you purchase it from us and sending you your cash flows every month along with detailed reporting. And so it's a one-stop shop. It's a one-stop shop beyond us, in the sense that I'm even going to set you up with a quote for homeowners insurance, a title company. I mean, we are holding hands, crossing T's, dotting I's, is what we do all day.
And of course, with an outfit that's been around for a while and is doing so much management and so many rehabs, as an investor, our investors are able to get the benefit of cheaper labor costs, cheaper material costs, and a quicker turnaround when repairs do happen.
Yep. So you're using the economies of scale. So just like you did for your friend when you started, he didn't have time to find the property and then fix it up with, we could just do an entire episode on that, and then get a tenant in there. That's another episode in there, managing the property, collecting the rents, and eventually, obviously profiting from it. So the investor can, like you said, they're wiring the funds. It's done for you, and you should literally put your key in this vehicle and turn it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, most of our investors, unfortunately, we don't get to visit with them. They buy sight unseen. Liz and her crew get to talk to them over the phone, and we meet them after the fact on the management side. But probably only 3 to 5% of the folks that we get to work with ever come to Memphis to visit with us. So hopefully we'll get to visit with some of your listeners sometime, and they'll come to Memphis and kick the tires and go on an investor tour with Liz and the crew.
Absolutely. We have really cool once a month tours. You can sign up for them on our website. And I wanted to touch on something you said, MC, about what Turnkey is not. And one of the reasons I often am telling our clients that, I buy a house once a year from Mid-South. There are no employee discounts on property. My management rate is the same. No one knew that was the house I was going to buy when we created it. And the reason that I am paying the same prices and buying the same product that investors in Japan, Australia, California, New York are purchasing is because it would cost me $140,000 to recreate a $130,000 Mid-South house. And aside from that, and that's going to be because I'm walking in one time to Home Depot, I'm paying retail for the roofer, I'm paying retail for the water heater, all the stuff we're doing in house. But one thing we're not is Burr. Right. We're not the sell you a dilapidated property, then sell you the renovation, then put a tenant in it, and you've owned it for 8 to 9 months with no cash flow. And one of the reasons that I do this is that Mid-South takes all of that risk. We actually lose money on every 25th house is kind of what the metric comes out to at our level of expertise. And that is because no one can x-ray a house. You can be the most expert renovators out there, and when you knock down a wall, you've already bought the house, you find a problem that you have to fix. When that's my baby, when that's my life savings, and that's my nights and weekends, that's a disaster. That's a huge loss, and there's no preventing it. And we are able to just absorb it, fix that house to perfection, write a check at the closing table. The end investor would never know, and just keep on moving. And so I think that some of the things that we're not is that more broken down process that has a lot more risk on the investor.
Yep. And this kind of ties into what a turnkey, single family turnkey rental is not. So there are a lot of different services out there that are not turnkey because, as you've mentioned, you could buy properties and they don't have a management company. Or you could buy a property and they now sell you we got a crew to fix this up for you. Yep. And then, we can introduce you to, my cousin that manages properties in the area, something like that. So can you touch base just on that, of how important that is? Because there's a lot of fluffy pony and rainbow and unicorn stuff in this space too, where it's not a true turnkey.
Sure. So, like Liz said, when we sell a house, the house is occupied. It's already been completely renovated from top to bottom. All the question marks are gone. And we've placed a resident in the property, and the property is cash flowing the day that we sell it. And then also it comes with a bumper to bumper 1-year warranty that's not like your typical home warranty. This covers everything. And so it just takes the guesswork out. It takes the time factor out. Folks aren't having to spend nights and weekends away from their families, and are able to buy the properties still most of the time below what they would spend on it if they painstakingly contracted the work themselves. The only way to get it done cheaper is to actually swing the hammer, but then you're facing the interest clock, you're facing taxes and insurance and holding costs that are mounting up. And that's why, folks come back to us over and over to buy houses instead of trying to do it themselves.
Yeah, there's just so many unknowns until the product is finalized. I mean, I think anyone that's even so much as redone their kitchen knows how frequently renovations take longer than they were projected to take and cost more than they were projected to take. And then that's before the rent amount is decided. We know our markets really, really well. We have fine-tuned what we think something can rent for, but we still don't offer a property to our investors until we have taken a deposit. So like our little tagline is cash flow from day one. And that's because sometimes we're, whoa, the phone rang off the hook. I think we can get $25 more for this. The phone's not ringing enough. Let's just ease this one down a little bit till the phone is ringing off the hook. And so when you're doing that piece by piece by piece, the percentage that the rehab costs more, that it goes longer, and then their final rent amount. And so you can be looking at numbers on the front end, and when the dust settles, everything costs more and the income is less. And all of that is absolutely finalized with us.
My new book, Get Wealthy for Sure, the #1 financial strategy for business owners to multiply wealth predictably, just hit #1 on Amazon. So Get Wealthy for Sure is an Amazon #1 bestseller. In this book, you'll learn the wealth building secrets that the ultra rich have used for over 170 years. You'll learn how to create your own banking system using a dividend paying whole life insurance policy, allowing you to finance your business growth, invest in lucrative opportunities, and build generational wealth, all tax free and protected from market volatility. You'll also learn the proven strategies used by icons like Walt Disney, the Rockefellers, and top CEOs to grow their empires and get wealthy for sure. You'll learn how to build a team of expert financial professionals, implement tax-efficient strategies, and protect your assets from creditors. You'll also learn the power of thinking like the wealthy and aligning your capital for maximum impact, so you can take control of your financial destiny. I also share a step-by-step aligned capital strategy that will guide you to a life of certainty, clarity, and predictability without falling victim to misinformation or settling for the status quo. If you want to get a free copy of my book, Get Wealthy for Sure, and only pay the shipping and handling, you could go to getwealthyforsure.com. That's getwealthyforsure.com. Tell me a little bit more about the markets that you're operating in. I think we did an episode years ago. This is like 2019 of Cashflow in Graceland or Graceland Cashflow. So you're in Memphis, Tennessee. Tell me a little bit about that market, and then the other market which you've added since then, which I'm excited to learn more about.
So we're talking to you from Memphis. Memphis is where we founded. We expanded to Little Rock about 6 years ago. Our investors had been asking us to go to Little Rock for years. But one thing I love about working for Terry is he's really loyal to what he says, what brought us to the dance. And we, no matter how many investors were waiting in line or what the demand for our properties were, we didn't expand until we had enough kind of really middle management in Memphis that we could take that step out there. It's also tough to find alternate markets because if Memphis checks 10 boxes, there's a lot of places out there that check 7, check 8. But for us to serve it up side by side with our bread and butter properties, we need to say, this is truly interchangeable. You can't go wrong. Go buy only Little Rock, buy only Memphis, mix it up and get default market diversification with one property management company. Both states are incredibly landlord friendly. Both cities have really strong rental demand. Both cities have a default construction style that is really low maintenance. I've heard Terry say a lot that he's just grateful to be born in an area that lends itself to this, even down to homeowners insurance. Like we are below the snow belt. We're above the hurricane belt. We're too far east to be in Tornado Alley. Our property taxes in both cities are super low. It just goes on. And so just some unique things to each one that make it suited for this.
Yeah, lots of luck, but we'll take it.
Tell me a little bit about the demographics and then also the diversity of like employment and companies and a little bit about the economies and where they are at right now in both of these markets, Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas. As I used to say Arkansas before I came to the United States and realized everybody says Arkansas. I still haven't squared that one. But tell me a little bit more about the demographics and the employment and, of course, the economy.
Sure. Well, in Memphis and Little Rock too are they're blue collar towns. Memphis is on the Mississippi River. Lots of blue collar work going on there. We've got the second largest cargo hub in the United States, the third largest railway. So it's a distribution town. And so Nike's here, FedEx is here. Elon's got a lot going on here now, and there you can graduate from high school and you can get an excellent job with benefits right out of high school. And so, a lot of those folks tend to be renters. And, Memphis is ranked in what, Liz, like the 93rd percentile of major cities that
98.
rent? 98.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's hard to find a city where there's a higher percentage of renters with stable jobs right out of high school. And so that's one of the things that lends Memphis to having a much longer average rentership. The Memphis market actually is about 2 years for the average renter, and we're about 4 years for the average resident. So it also helps when it comes to lease renewals, preventing turnover, and just basically making the property perform well.
Yeah, it's such a 53% of the Memphis population rents, and we're about the 48th or 49th biggest city in the U.S., depending on kind of the list that you look up. So we're in the top 50 biggest cities in the U.S., and over half our population rents. It's super unusual. Little Rock is very strong. It's a little lower. I think it's about 43 to 46% in Little Rock. But one of the things I love, and so with that, over half of our population renting, you get this really unusual skew of low local purchase demand with high local renter demand. And it's something that correlates everywhere else in the world. So you have sky high rents in New York, but sky high purchase prices. You can find a house for 60 grand in some tiny rural town, but it's only going to rent for $400 a month. And so it's really unusual. I mean, we have investors in Japan, Australia, Brazil. There's a reason folks are coming to these two markets for that. 44% of our renters work in distribution in Memphis. Shelby County School Systems is our largest single employer at 3%. But by a ton, it's that. In Little Rock, it's big box stores. Walmart is headquartered out of there. But one thing I really love about this industry as an investor myself, with it being distribution, is that it's so resilient to economic tides. So if you think about Detroit as a blue collar city with a ton of factory workers, and what happened when the auto industry pulled out of there and went overseas, well, we all kind of know what happened. Memphis has been a distribution hub because of our geography, an immutable fact about the city, for over 200 years. We were a distribution center before the Civil War. For cotton. We are a distribution center today for it. There is no way that China or Mexico can take the job of getting a package from New York to LA and do it faster than Memphis can. It's not going anywhere, which means your renters are going to have an extremely steady stream of employment. I remember when COVID hit, and we're the number one cargo airport in the world. We were number two for most of my career here, and then there was so much online shipping. FedEx was hiring 500 people a week for like 6 weeks in March and April of 2020, and the requirement was that you be able to lift a 50-pound box. We saw rental demand increase. And so, again, just kind of a very resilient industry.
Resilient markets. And then from a cash flow appreciation standpoint, as a real estate investor, is the market both? Is it more cash flow, slightly less appreciation? Can you share a little bit about what people get when they invest in Memphis and also Arkansas? Maybe it's the same, maybe it's a little bit different.
Yeah, have I undersold appreciation, MC? I told everybody for years and years and years, we are cash flow, cash flow, cash flow.
That's my fault.
We're going to keep up with the price of bread. And folks saw way, way more and have seen and are seeing way more than we ever led them to expect. I love Memphis. I love living here. I'm not a native. I choose to live here because I love it. A lot of it makes sense to me as somebody with just boots on the ground, as we just get new restaurants and more kind of everything. But some of the zip codes, and this is not what we project for folks. We like to be conservative. The zip code that we are the most active in Memphis, 38127, was the most rapidly appreciating zip code in Memphis per Zillow in 2023. And that was an 18 to 20% appreciation rate. Now, if you go on our website and you go look at the available properties, and they're all under contract to investors at the top of our wait list, but it's still well worth people's time because it's going to be exactly what you'd be getting from us. You can look at, we have a really detailed pro forma available and some metrics. And I think we're using 5.6 because we just won. We'd rather it be icing on the cupcake, kind of under promise, over deliver. Rent appreciation has outpaced anything we ever saw as well over the last couple of years. And it's held true very much for Little Rock. I think with appreciation, the flip side of Little Rock having more owner occupants than Memphis can kind of help boost some of that. Little Rock is a state capital. There's always going to be some growth centered around that. I think it's a port city as well. So yeah, we've seen a lot.
Awesome. And the buyers, so are they financing it? Is it a lot of cash buyers? And how has the interest rates played into that? Higher interest rates, has that kind of like changed the game a little bit? Share a little bit more about that from a buyer standpoint.
Yeah, so I'd say what there's about 20% of our buyers are cash, 80% finance, and Liz has vetted lots of mortgage brokers, so she hooks our investors up with the mortgage brokers with the best rate, the lowest closing costs, and the best customer service. As far as interest rates, interest rates have obviously, affect cash flows, but the reality is the supply is still not enough for the demand. And you take in all the other aspects, positive aspects of real estate ownership and tax benefits. And it's, we're still trying to keep up.
Yeah, and the cash flows are there, and that's what matters, I think, and even if the deals were juicier on paper, maybe 5 or 7 years ago or 10 years ago, the appreciation was a lot slower. And so it's actually one of the reasons I went to those really detailed pro formas on the website is that back then, yeah, the fruit was really low hanging and the number right off the bat looked better for year one. Year one looked better in the past, but year 3 looks better now. So that's kind of been the flip side.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. And you guys were building new construction too, right? So you got new construction part of it, building and then so building the houses and then renting it out and selling those, and then also properties that you buy and fix up and make nice and put renters in, right?
Right. So last year we bought, rehabbed, and/or did new construction on just under 700 houses. A little over 100 were new construction, and we're never going to get away from rehabs, but we're adding the new construction because of the demand. So this year it looks like we'll do about 150, 175 new construction, and right around about the same number of rehabs.
Yeah. A side benefit to an MC, I know your podcast just has a huge following and has blown up even more since we were on a long time ago. But our wait times when we spoke, I think we're pushing a year. That's how many investors were waiting in line. And that's because we were completely at the mercy of the existing market for what we could buy and renovate. And to this day, our acquisitions team are never thinking about me and my wait list. It is a mandate from Terry that we don't take on a property that he would not proudly own in his own portfolio. We pass on 20 plus properties for every one we put an offer in on. And this is all to say the ability to control our pipeline by throwing out as much new construction as we need to balance out the many hundreds of renovated properties we're still offering has gotten these wait times down to it's 45 to 60 days for my finance folks to start seeing properties from when they go in line, and only 30 to 45 for my cash folks. And so that's just been awesome as someone that was just coping with, I want more houses and I want them faster for years and years.
So what do some of these houses look like that investors buy? What price points are they at, and kind of what makeup? 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and then price point, and what type of rents do they generate?
Sure. We've got 2 1s up to 4 2s, but our average is going to be a 3 1, 3 1.5, 1,300 square feet. It's going to rent for $1,100 and sell in the high 130s. And that's our average anyway. Rehab, and then new construction is typically a 4-2 that's going to rent for 1,600 and or maybe 1,500 and sell for 195, something like that.
And as far as the look, and I encourage folks to just go to midsouthhomebuyers.com and check out the available properties. I'm very proud of how transparent we are on our website. It just doesn't seem to be very common. So, for example, from the property management section, you can download our management agreement. You can download our lease. Literally everything we can think of to share is published there. And that's why I found a lot of places make you give them their email address to show you their houses, or it's just not very accessible. With us, we love showing it off. And one thing that kind of makes us different that folks will see as far as the look and what you're getting for that 130,000 is that every house has a new roof, every house has a new furnace, every house has a new water heater. Typical in this industry, and there's nothing wrong with it, it's normal. Most folks, providers, if you will keep something if there's 5 years of life left on it or not. 5 years left on the roof, keep it. 5 years left on the furnace, keep it. That's a lot of CapEx that can hit people in that first 10 years of ownership. And not only are we doing all of that new, we're gutting the bathrooms and kitchens every time. So folks will see this running theme of brand new kitchen cabinets in every home, brand new tile shower surrounds in every home. Kitchens and baths rent houses just like they sell houses. So I just like to point out that like what you're getting for that kind of our full range is probably about 100 to 190 on the single family homes, with easily 80% being in that 120 to 160 range. That's all new every time, with a deposit taken and a 1-year warranty.
If you've been watching the news headlines, you know that the world's top CEOs, biggest investors, family offices, ultra affluent, and political elite are all moving to cash. Why? They're building up their war chest to go buy assets at a significant discount in the coming months. They are warehousing their capital in vehicles that have stood the test of time for 170 years, with institutions that have made good on their promises for 170 years. If you're interested to learn how to build your own banking system using the infinite banking concept, just like all of these parties, you can watch a presentation at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com. You guys also have a due diligence report on your website. So speaking about being transparent, is like, here's how you've had deals, even the ones that we present to you. Could you share a little bit more about that? And maybe if you want to just give a couple of things that are very, very important right now as we catch up from our conversation years ago. What are some of the most important things that folks should be thinking about now from a due diligence standpoint?
Sure. The main thing that folks need to be thinking about is that the management of the property is more important than the property themselves. Like Liz mentioned, when folks are buying a new construction house or rehab house from us, they know what they're getting. We do stem to stern gut rehab jobs, and that's awesome, and that's what we're going to keep doing. But the property management is where the rubber meets the road. It's how long are the residents staying? How quickly is a water heater getting fixed when it breaks? And what do the lease renewals look like? Was the property was the property management company over promising the rent on the front end to where no one's going to want to renew the lease? It's kicking the tires on the property management is probably the most important thing. And the due diligence report is a combination of that kind of stuff and things that, we learned as a company as we grew, how not to do it right. And so it's definitely be worth your while if you haven't checked it out to go check out the Fatal Investor Mistakes and learn how to, check out houses in any market. Mid-South, we want to work with your listeners, MC, but regardless of where they're buying, the due diligence report will help them vet turnkey sellers, property management companies, and sellers who aren't turnkey in any market.
Yeah, we wrote it when someone has a bad turnkey experience in Kansas City, Alabama, nothing to do with us. The whole industry gets painted with that brush. That individual tells other people what a bad experience it is. And we had too many of our folks getting burned elsewhere while they were waiting in line, even though there's also, great folks out there that are doing this too. And I think one of the best things in that report is talking about under market rents and at market rents and above market rents as a place where the bodies are buried. I never would have understood before I was in this industry, nor could I if I'm a dentist in California or I work for Google in New York, like a lot of our investors are, the relationship with how much more you can sell a property for if you can get more rent out of it. If you can get even $25 more in rent for a house, you can sell it for $4,000 or $5,000 more. And that person out of state, out of country, penciling in their little return, it's the same to them. So you imagine a setup where the carrot in front of your nose is if you can hold that property vacant on your end for 4 or 5 months and get an extra $25 because somebody maybe just moved to town, they don't really know. And then you flip that out for $4,000 more than you would have made. It's just the reality. Human nature is gonna human nature. And particularly, I think, because so many investors are from really high cost of living areas where that house would rent for $4,000 where they're from. How could they possibly be expected to know that $1,050 is too much and $1,025 is going to give them a lot more performance and a lot more longer tenant stay? And that's something we hit on in that due diligence report. Though there's some neat stuff about all cash flows aren't created equal. We have some cool examples with like a $180,000 house that throws off $300, a $120,000 house that does, and some things like that. But that's one of the things I like to kind of make people aware of.
Yeah, and that is usually one of my questions too, is how do things go wrong and bad? And that was one of the things that you just mentioned, because that's important to know as an investor. So if you're listening to this, I mean, that due diligence support from an educational standpoint, that already is gold right there with the examples. And there are a couple of other ways you mentioned, knowing the difference between the different types of rent and that all cash flow is not created equal. What are like one or two other things that you can share of how these investments go bad?
I think, one of my favorite things about real estate is it's so straightforward. If a house is not performing, you have one of two elements going on. Either there's an element of vacancy or an element of maintenance, right? That are the two battles. And it's not, we talked about investing in the stock market at the beginning and like how complex understanding why Coca-Cola's stock may be up and down or something like that.
Yep.
And so our battles, our everyday battle, every meeting this company has, from a repair meeting to an investor communication meeting, is how are we fighting vacancy and how are we fighting maintenance for our investors and keeping these costs down. And so there's not a big grandiose answer in the sense that those are the two battles. And, obviously tenant screening, it can affect both maintenance and vacancy. Quality of rehab actually can affect vacancy as much as maintenance. People will move out if you are having to repair stuff all the time and if you're slow to repair stuff. Terry, you can probably speak to some of the ways we fight those battles.
Sure, absolutely. The first thing is you got to answer the phone, you got to have dispatchers that are answering the phone. We've got dispatchers for plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roofing, general repairs. And you got to make sure that you're asking the right questions. And I know this is getting down into the nitty gritty, but if you can walk Mrs. Smith, the resident, through how to change the battery on her smoke detector, then she can get her heat or air back up and running quickly. If you can walk them through how to replace an AC filter, then you're going to get them back up and rolling quickly. So it's being available, and it's also having the resources on the repair side. And that's one of the things that, we've got going for us, because we're rehabbing so many houses at one time, when there is maybe an influx in the spring of air calls, or in the winter for heat calls. We can pull our install technicians off of a rehab and put them on the rental property, so we can make sure that we're getting the properties repaired as quickly as possible. So like Liz said, it's either make sure the property is performing from a standpoint of the lease renewing, or it's making sure that the property is being repaired quickly. And it sounds easier than it is, and so that's one of the things that we're constantly sharpening our axe on.
Yeah, there's a guarantees section of our website, and we've talked a little bit about the 1-year maintenance guarantee, but we have a lifetime occupancy guarantee that is written into our management agreement. And it says that if we're managing your property and it's vacant for more than 90 days, we cannot find and have not moved someone in 90 days, we have to start paying you market rent in full for that property from the 91st day until we get it filled. And some of that guarantee encompasses a little bit of what we were already speaking on. With our rents are real. Our rents are priced to make the phone ring off the hook, and they're not overpriced. But the other reason that we are able to do that is what Terry's talking about, where we can pull a rehab crew from one of our existing vacant houses and put it on our investors' houses, right? So your typical third-party property management company that does not happen to gut rehab 700 plus houses a year, they can't staff up year round for those seasonal swings. If you're a property management company and you're managing 800 houses, you might have 12 move outs in December, and 15 move outs in February, and 45 move outs in May. And when you have 45 houses go vacant all at once, someone's house is at the back of the line to get painted and cleaned. And you can't tour it till it's painted and cleaned. And so that 90 days is not just saying our rent is priced. It is saying our rent is priced to make the phone ring off the hook, but it also is a commitment to our efficiency on getting that property rent ready. And I would say that 30% of the investors I talk to, and a higher percentage if you incorporate only those that have worked with other turnkey providers, have experienced a vacancy longer than 90 days. And so that's why we put that in there.
Gotcha. Can you please share a little bit about more about your process? How do investors work with you? Where do they start? And just give us a little bit of an overview of it.
Yeah, it's super simple. So all roads lead to me. I am Liz, L-I-Z, at midsouthhomebuyers.com. If you click any kind of button on my website, it's going to send me an email. We make ourselves available for an entire hour if people do have questions. So you can kind of sign up with us as simple as like, I know everything I need to know, put me on the wait list. And it's not a commitment, by the way. It literally just lets me add your name to my spreadsheet so that I can start sending you houses. But if you reach out and you want to call, we reserve a whole hour. We're able to get on the phone with people within 1 to 3 days of contact to do that. I have a bevy of super seasoned, really experienced investors that own houses coast to coast. But one of my favorite investors that I work with are folks actually doing their very first home purchase in life. It's not uncommon for me to talk with folks that are renting in Manhattan and they're renting in Santa Monica, and a local purchase is way outside of their sphere, and they're smart enough to be getting into real estate in their 20s or 30s or 50s while living in the city they need to live in for work. And just to say, I always hope people, there can be so much lingo. What is a pro forma? What is, what is refinancing? What is BRRRR? That it can feel very overwhelming. Analysis paralysis is very common. And, we just love helping people with that. But so any kind of first contact, we're going to help you through. Then, going on the wait list means just I put you in line so that I can start sending you properties. A super brief explanation on that. We used to have 5 or 6 houses sitting on the website available for anybody to come up and buy, kind of just like anybody else. I remember the shirt I was wearing when I marked the last house under contract on the website. I thought, oh, that's never happened. And we had this casual little list. And the idea behind the email list, the idea behind it was, what if you went and looked at our properties and you wanted to work with us, but you just didn't want those 4? We're going to send an email anytime a new house is added to the wait list. And I'm sorry, to the website. And this was 2011, by the way, which is kind of really predates podcasts or the concept of Turnkey. And what happened is I would hit send on this email saying, hey, new house on the website. And my inbox would go, I'll take it. 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 My phone starts vibrating off the desk. It was so crazy. I would tell the first person to reply, you got it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I would spend the rest of my day turning down people. I had people say, this is a scam. What do you mean? I am emailing you 7 minutes after you emailed me a property and you're telling me it's gone. And I was having to send screenshots. And my little breaking point was a combination of 2 things. I'd had a woman from Sydney, Australia, fly out to Memphis and tour with us. She was going to invest with her superannuation. And these emails were coming in the middle of the night for her. She had no chance. And I had one of our super duper techie investors in San Francisco set up an autoresponder to my email only that said, if it is under 86,000 in a 3-bedroom, I will take it. And he got 7 houses in a row. And my sweet Australian woman trying to retire with us had no chance. And so just sometimes people, it's so unusual to have a wait list and to have this system. I always feel like telling that origin story helps people understand. And so the way the system evolved is instead of me sending one house to 500 interested parties, I send it to 15. I wait an hour. I send it to the next 15 and so on. And I can talk with folks about how that works on the individual calls, but your end user experience is that I'm sending you 5 to 7 houses a week. If you don't want them, just don't do anything. I'm going to keep sending them to you. And if I've done my job, you know what you're looking for. When you see that, you literally hit reply to the email and say, Liz, I'll take it. There's no earnest money with our contracts. One thing people will find is that we try to be the easy people to work with in every way, shape, or form. We want you to be popping confetti or champagne at the closing table. We are not trying to tie your feet with a deposit. Whether it's a change in the house or you or your personal situation, everything is contingent on your happiness with us. Then we're going to guide you through that 30-day closing process, financed cash, however that looks. We have some alternative financing, in-house options as well. There's a whole financing section on the website too. And then as soon as they close, we're going to get them set up with our awesome property management company, auto deposit of rents. We've got this great online owners portal. It's got graphs. It's got everything. And that's when it gets really passive. And your interaction, I live here in Memphis and go to Little Rock frequently. And my interaction with my properties is that I open the report once a month. I go, oh, they paid rent again. And I delete the email and go on about the day. And so that's the A to Z.
Awesome. Guys, where can people follow you? Where can they get in touch? What's the contact point if they want to learn more, if they want to download reports and, get on your list?
Sure. Just go to midsouthhomebuyers.com. Like Liz said, all roads point to her. We, as Liz also mentioned, we're not asking for your email address. Hop in there, check out all the houses that are under contract to other investors, be able to poke around, because that's the same style house that we're going to be serving up, that we serve up every single day. So get on there, poke around, check out the due diligence report, check out a few of our videos, some other podcasts, and just learn a little bit. And as Liz mentioned, if when folks are ready to hop on the wait list, they can simply hop on. If they want to chat with Liz or her team, they can request an hour time slot to ask questions. So it's just that easy.
Fantastic. Guys, Liz and Terry, this has been great. Great. Bless you. Great to have you back on. Great to connect with you. And thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and providing so much value to all of my listeners and my viewers.
Heck yeah.
MC, you are awesome. We have missed you. It's too long.
Thanks so much.
And thank you to all of my listeners and my viewers for, again, spending your most valuable resource, your time with me on the show today. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcast episodes, 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the Wealth Dojo, the best newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. Until next time, love infinitely. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.